Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Hey, everybody, I'm Joe Trippi, and a Democratic strategist, and with me is the other Joe, Joe Klein, author, journalist extraordinaire, primary colorist, so much that he's done and followed me around, and I followed him around, and we've had more than our few elbows spent at taverns together. And today we Joe, where do you want to get started? What do you want to get into?
Well, first of all, I want to say uh, that my career began before the mists of history. So I've been doing this a long time. The second thing I'd like to say is Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And this is our lame turkey edition of The Two Joes. It's been pretty clear to me uh, I think I wrote it maybe 2 months ago that Trump, as obnoxious and as forceful as he's been, um, is becoming less effective. And there are several reasons for that. The most basic is he's never going to appear on a ballot again, at least not as long as we continue to have a democracy. And there are an awful lot of Republicans who are looking themselves in the mirror and seeing presidents there.
Yeah, no, that's true because the founders even thought that what would preserve somebody from prevent somebody from being the dictator wannabe would be the that the political ambitions of others would eventually get in the way of any one person who thought they could pull it off. And I think you're definitely starting, I mean, both things. Donald Trump still thinks he can pull it off, but you're definitely seeing the lame duckness or lame turkeyness come in. Particularly, I think, after the elections in November in Virginia and New Jersey, Georgia, and other places, you could just sense a sea change, I think, and then with Marjorie Taylor Greene and others. So
Yeah, no, the question is whether this is going to be a lame turkey with surrender stuffing. It looked for a while like the Ukraine deal was going to be very much tilted in Russian favor.
yeah,
Um, and I don't think that the Ukrainians would ever go along with it. Um, and now it seems to be tilting back toward the Ukrainians, but I don't think the Russians will ever go along with it. And this is one of the most tragic situations because Vladimir Putin knows that in the history of Russia, if you lose a war, you're gone. You are just taken out. And there is a kind of uh, uh, a MAGA movement there, make Russia great again, on the far right, even to the right of Putin. And they believe he should have just nuked
yeah,
Ukraine.
yeah,
And so he's been on shaky footing. Um, at the same time, Zelensky isn't on such firm footing either. Um, he has a major um, corruption scandal. He also has, an ultimately long-term losing position. Um, and when it comes to that war, even though he obviously has the moral high ground, but talk about lame turkeys. We got them left and right here. We got them in here in the
yeah.
United States. We may have them in Ukraine and Russia as well.
Well, the other thing that's happening is there's a lot of talk that over the holiday season we're going to lose a few more. The few more Marjorie Taylor Greenes will retire
Mhm.
and quit Washington. And no, so another lame duck that may be appearing here is Speaker Mike Johnson. He's only got a couple of, a little few seats. And I know we're going to get into redistricting in a little bit, but beyond that, there's some special elections where Democrats are likely to win here in the next few weeks and months. Um, and bring that margin to could be as slim as 218 to 215 kind of and you get two or three retirements here, or I mean, people quitting to go get that TV gig or whatever they're going to vacate to do. He could be another lame duck, and I actually think that's going to happen. I don't think he's. I think the gavel's going to fall on Mike Johnson sooner than people think. He may be the lamest duck of all, but we'll see. Lamest
Yeah.
turkey of all.
Foul in any sense of the word.
Yeah.
He
So what
always
you
reminds me
quote?
of like a small town pharmacist who may be mixing drugs into your drugs. He always seemed a little creepy to me.
Not just you, Joe. I think a lot of people have had that opinion for quite a while about the creepiness part.
The thing is that, and this is going to lead us into one of the big stories of the week, and indeed into our quote of the week. There are an awful lot of resignations, as you said. And the reason why, well, I'd be curious, would you think the reason why? I'll tell you what I think the reason is. It's that they're getting death threats, left and right. Um, I'll start off with this, and then you could certainly add to it. The quote of the week comes from Senator Mark Kelly, who was one of the six Democrats, veterans all, who stated the obvious that you have a right to disobey an illegal order. Now, there was some nuance to this, or actually, there was no nuance to this. They just laid it out there, right? And the question came up, what illegal orders are we talking about? And I think that they were mostly talking about the potential for illegal orders, and the places where Trump is just nudging right up against um, the edge of the law, as with blowing up the drug boats, if they are indeed drug boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific, and and also with some of these immigration raids. So Mark Kelly, the famous astronaut, U.S. Senator from Arizona, um, husband of Gabby Giffords, a former Congresswoman who was shot in the head, um, is the source of our quote of the week this week. It came after the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth, who has been in combat, but not to the extent that Kelly was, um, announced or let it leak that they were going to seek court-martial charges against Kelly for saying that you can disobey an illegal order. And this was Kelly's response. If this is meant to intimidate me and other members of Congress from doing our jobs and holding this administration accountable, it won't work. I've given too much to this country to be silenced by bullies who care more about their own power than protecting the Constitution. And I think that that's the feeling of a lot of people who have served in the military and are serving in Congress now. I know a lot of them. I've embedded with them over the years. And the thing is, when you look at them, they tend to be more courageous than other members of Congress. And consequently, they have received more death threats. Just a few weeks ago, Jared Golden of Maine, a really smart and decent guy, announced that he was retiring from Congress because he had to spend last Thanksgiving in a hotel room because his house was under bomb threat. He was a guy, a Democrat, who was um, against gun control and changed his position when there was a mass shooting in his hometown of Lewiston, Maine. And this goes both ways, both sides. In the last year, three excellent Republican veterans have left announced they're leaving the Congress or have left it. Um, They include Don Bacon from Nebraska, and Mike Gallagher from Wisconsin, and Adam Kinzinger we all know about. But I can tell you that in each case, their families received death threats. Don Bacon has said that he had to sell his house and move into a new one. And even after that, his wife sleeps at night with her pistol under her pillow. And I think that this may be one of the primary causes of why we're getting so many resignations in the Congress.
Right. And I think that's right. And I think that's why I think this holiday season, through Thanksgiving, Christmas, the New Year's, they're with their families. These families it's not just them anymore. I mean, first of all, it never should be anybody, but it was different when I think some of them felt like they were in danger, but not their families. Now it's clear they're getting their children are getting threatened, that um, and family members. And I just think my own expectation is that we haven't seen the end of this. It wasn't just the folks that you've already talked about, Marjorie Taylor Greene. People can get into what her motives were, but she's leaving, and she was definitely someone who was receiving, a lot of death threats.
Do you think her motives were, Joe?
I mean, I do think it's become a miserable place for her in the House and with the death threats. I'm not, but I think I do think, I don't buy that she's running for the Senate or governor in Georgia, or that she's leaving, she's not going to be out there. No, I think she's going to run for president in 2028. And whether she announces that the next day or, several months later, I don't know. But that's what I think this is about. I mean, there's other people who think it's about, a TV gig or something. I'm not, that's what I meant. I didn't mean that. I mean, I think I think her motive for getting out, or the right reason. I mean, for her, it is that it's a miserable place right now. You can't get anything done. I think she definitely was responsible for a lot of it. The rhetoric that helped get us here. But it was coming around and getting her, and she's getting out. And so I don't have any qualms about that. I'm just talking about her motive. What's she going to do next? I think there's a motive there.
I don't know whether being in Congress was ever all that much fun. But
No, it's the
we,
worst
if
job
you
in the
think, I
world.
mean, you've dealt with these people, you've represented these people, and all of them are kind of alphas. They were the high school quarterback or the
Yeah.
president of their high school class. They went to college, they went to law school. They are all, they served on the local city council and were the most dynamic person there, and the most dynamic person in history from their neighborhood and town. And then all of a sudden they get to Congress, and there are
Yeah.
435 of them, and they have no power, and they have even less
Yeah.
power now.
Well, look, having worked for a lot I mean, I look, Ro Khanna all the way out there in California, Seth Moulton in Massachusetts, the others, Mark Takano. I can go through a number of members that I've worked with, or helped get elected. And the only one, if you're going to be elected from a district in Virginia or Maryland, it's a great job. You get up every morning, you drive over the
Right.
bridge, and you're in the house. The weekends you're back going to stuff locally. Uh, Being a member from California, or somewhere out actually any place, it is you're basically uh, commuting thousands of miles. You got to be back in the district. There's never any time off, and there's people always complaining and screaming at you about something. Then on top of it, then you get to where we are now, where your own safety is clearly at risk, and your family members are at risk. I think it all adds up. It's not a it's different being a senator, where you've got 6 years. You don't have to go back to the district or the state anywhere
Well,
near
that's a good
the
job.
same. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But the Congress, where you're up every 2 years and every waking moment is raising money or flying, or commuting back and forth, either to well, particularly now, a house that doesn't even meet or vote
Right.
on
But
anything.
and also, um, if you disagree on the slightest thing, you can wind up getting death threats. The striking thing to me about two of the three Republicans I just mentioned, um, who received death threats, Don Bacon and Mike Gallagher, they and their families received those threats after they refused to vote for Jim Jordan for Speaker of the House. Something as trivial as a procedural vote can get the crazies on your
Yeah.
neck. This is not a place where most rational people want to be, but then most politicians aren't entirely rational people. Although I should add that some of the best people I've ever met in life, some of the people who had the most influence on me, like the late Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, were politicians and thinkers and men and women of courage. Um, and they're out there for sure, such people.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, no, they are, and they're out there in the house too. I'm putting down the job, not the people.
right.
There's plenty of people who are in those jobs and do every day, try on both sides, try to do what's right for the country. That's just harder and harder to do in this polarized, violent kind of moment in our politics. Um, look, there are plenty of courageous folks that will continue that fight, but I also think that a lot of them, you just feel it. They've had enough. It's like,
Yeah.
and I think you're going to see. That's all. This got started mostly with me just talking about how I really do expect to see more hitting the exit door. Uh,
And
and I think many of the people who will be hitting those exit doors are the Republic. I mean, first of all, there's more of them. I got that. But secondly, I think a lot of the vitriol and a lot of this is coming from forces that are further to the right than the member, that are the ones that
right.
are are really creating a lot of the threats and the fear.
Well, given that, Joe, how is this weird redistricting situation going to affect the nature or the vote next year? I always thought that playing the redistricting game was a fool's game. That in the end, um, where you stand is far more important than where your district is drawn. And Republicans chose to play the game in Texas, and they've now may well have been stopped. I know that the Supreme Court, I guess it was Alito, um, put a stay on this, but because of the Texas map not taking into account race, it was tossed out of court. That's 5 seats, uh, people said, but I never really believed it was 5 seats. I always believed that if you create more moderate districts, you may get more moderate members of Congress.
I think the Texas thing, first of all, look, some states just aren't doing it. I mean, the Republicans were trying to
Indiana's
do,
not doing it.
yeah, they're not doing it. Texas is really fascinating to me. Now I'm talking as a like total partisan here. Like either way could be a disaster for the Republicans. And the reason, Joe, is different than yours about moderate districts or that. No, I think they redrew those lines under a firm belief that in Texas, Republicans like Trump were going to do better with Latinos um, than they actually did in Virginia and New Jersey. So they redrew these lines. I mean, they made them more moderate by because they could count on the demographics in a district being what they thought they were. And I think they woke up the next day after Tuesday and went like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm not even sure that they know what they want right now because I think if the new districts hold, I mean, eventually the redraw works. I think though they created what they felt were districts they could win because of they were the key demographic group, Latinos would be could get them, and I'm not sure they can, given what has happened in the macro with mass deportations, how they're hurt, everybody's hurting uh, uh, with tariffs and agriculture and everything else. So that, so okay, if it succeeds, they've got a problem. If it doesn't succeed, and so they didn't get the 5 districts, I still think they're going to lose some of the districts they already have for same reason. In other words, I actually think they're worse off if they win this fight, and have actually created sort of quote few more competitive districts where they believe they were leaning on their strength with Latinos. I don't think that strength is there, and I think that showed up in November. And I see no way for them to repair it between now and next November. Just I may be wrong about that, but that's sort of how I see it.
And what about California? Is that going to be stopped? And or have you
Well,
looked at those maps?
no, California, I don't think will be stopped. I mean, first of all, they put it to a vote of they put it to a vote. The people voted for it. I know that when they talked about putting it out there, they said the only reason they were doing it was because of Texas, and if Texas didn't do it, we wouldn't do it. The problem with that is Texas may not be able to do it because of the court, and there was no clause in the actual proposition that said if Texas keeps the same lines, California keeps the same lines. In other words, no, I think what I, I think this could be the biggest backfire. And by the way, we're both of us are two people who think gerrymandering, I mean, it should be independent committees everywhere, citizens committees in every state that
Absolutely.
decide this stuff. But I think this what the Republicans launched, thinking it's a brilliant move, it could turn out to be a massive misfire in which they don't get the 5 in Texas. They're not doing as well with Latinos as they thought they were, and they lose some of those Texas seats. And then on top of it, California picks up 4 or 5 seats for Democrats that they wouldn't have done. And I really do believe that there's no way all this redistricting craziness would have happened without the push in Texas. Um, but I think it's going to happen. And so you look at both sides of that coin, and it's not good for Republicans either way, in my view.
Well, I also think that um, it isn't so much, as I said before, it's not the boundary lines, it is the policy lines. And right now, which
Right.
gets us back to the lame, the biggest lame turkey of all, Donald Trump's policies are simply not working. The immigration raids are underwater. Most people don't like them. And I think that you have a stat of the week about about Homeland Security.
Yeah, this is actually fascinating. It comes from an article in the New York Times. Department of Homeland Security announced its fiscal year over year numbers in the following areas. And it's really interesting because uh, the, the fewer gun arrests, 11% fewer gun arrests nationwide, 28% fewer indictments for child exploitation crimes, and 73% fewer guns taken off the streets. So basically, we've got ICE and moving into our cities, claiming they're doing it obviously for the mass deportations, but they're getting, it was all done because crime was rampant in our cities. And meanwhile, yeah, crime had been going lower over the last few years, but that's no excuse. Any crime we need to do more. But what the Trump administration has done and what Homeland Security has done is actually made, by having their eye on, picking people off the street, often without due process, many of them citizens, it turns out later, are bad, has totally failed in terms of actually doing anything about crime. In fact, fewer gun arrests, fewer indictments for child exploitation crimes, and this is the real one, 73% fewer guns taken off the street. How the hell did Donald
Mhm.
Trump and Homeland Security pull that one off? I mean, are you,
It's
well,
remarkable.
maybe because the NRA, I don't know. Maybe they're just not going after them.
No,
No clue.
there is 100% of the American people, I think, would be in favor of ICE doing and the Border Patrol and Homeland Security and the other federal law enforcement agencies, having a three-way role. One would be get the guns off the streets, illegal guns off the streets, get the
Yeah.
illegal drugs off the streets, and get the criminals off the streets. And that would, they're doing none of that. They're
No,
sacrificing all of that
they're
to pick up, local landscapers.
yeah,
I,
who are putting up a Christmas tree. I mean, it's
right.
like this is like yeah, the illegal guns. Nah. Oh, but you're putting up a Christmas tree. We're stopping you. It's just I think this is part of the reason. It's like you said. When you get to what I'm just saying is they were thinking demographically about Latinos, that they had this group that they could count on. If you get to your point about policy and everything, no, it's the wrong way to think about people. Their policies and this administration were doing everything they could to destroy any strength that they once had with Latinos, and it had a lot of it. Some of it, I'm sure, was the guard in the streets and some of that. But you look at everywhere. I mean, whether it's people who are hiding because I mean, literally business owners, small business owners who are shutting their doors because they don't want to put at risk their customers. Um, Many of them are citizens, but it's the same. I
Mhm.
just think it's all failed. It's all
Right.
failed, and I think the tariffs have failed. I mean, there's so much of the agenda that's failed that one, it's making him the lane, but also that's the other thing I think. And you know this, Joe, because we've seen this before, the one thing that makes it the worst job in the world, an even worse job in the world, is if you're in the minority. I
Right.
mean, where you can't do anything. And I think a lot of these and this is why I think you're going to see more vacant Republican resignations. It won't necessarily be only about the violence and the threats. I think they all saw last November and decided, and they all know they're going to likely be in the minority. And so if you've been there for 20 years, you're getting death threats and you're going to be in the minor, go from the majority, going from being the chairman of the committee to being,
Mhm.
ranking. I think some of those people, we're going to see some resignations here.
Yeah, I think that's right. And another reason why we are is that there's another big issue that is trending against Trump, and that is inflation.
Yeah.
Now, he's made some, smart moves, lowering tariffs on things like coffee and bananas and stuff. But there is going to be a massive increase in health insurance bills. And there are continuing increases in utility bills.
Mhm.
We need to, I don't see how you cure those huge price increases without some kind of significant government intervention and building of a new system, whether it's a new national grid that would carry more electricity about, or a new way of delivering health insurance that would limit a lot of the redundancies and profit taking. And I think that Trump's on the wrong side of both of those. Oh, and by the way, he's not looking too good physically. Um,
Yeah.
you don't want to predict ill health on the part of a
Well,
president, but He's a couple of months older than me, and I know how I feel.
Well, he's got, I mean, the thing is, this is like infrastructure week. It was when his first term, every week was infrastructure week, and we never
Right,
got it yet, infrastructure bill. Now he's like, I've got a plan on healthcare. I got a plan on healthcare. I got a plan. They never had a plan on healthcare other than killing Obamacare. I mean, it didn't matter.
right.
That's the only plan. And so now he's postponed. He was supposed to put the plan out, I think, yesterday or the day before, postponed the plan. Oh, what plan? We're still working on it. There's not going to be a healthcare plan from Donald Trump.
Well, the question is whether he's going to pull the trigger on keeping
Right.
those Obamacare subsidies for another couple of years, because those subsidies, it turns out, are more important in red states than they are
Yeah,
in blue states.
absolutely. Not only that, I mean, you're still seeing even now with a lot of rural hospitals are shutting down because of the other cuts in Medicaid and Medicare. So yeah, I just think that that pain is going to continue in the cost of healthcare. And like you said, a lot of other things is going to continue to rise. And so I don't see inflation turning between. And by the way, the other thing you know from covering politics, and I know from running a campaign and praying that the economy would turn. Even when it does turn, it takes like 6 months for people to actually feel it. I mean, so
Right.
we're we're getting really, really close to like the point of no return on the economy in terms of next election because if it hasn't, if it, you don't feel like it dramatically moving in a change in direction by, February, March of next, there's no way by November anybody will feel it, even if it turned on a dime. And and that's been the just the fate of a lot of people. I mean, in terms of just if you were on the other side of that, like Obama being on the other side of just when it went really bad, and then and won because of that. But it's very rare to have that kind of a turn
Yeah.
happen so quickly that it actually changes the dynamic of the race.
Yeah,
Because
but that was 2008,
yeah,
and the economy was falling off of a cliff. The one other aspect of this that I think we have to take note of is that if Trump keeps losing, uh, this could get very, very dangerous. His rhetoric has gotten even more sloppy in the last couple of months, couple of weeks, and it's gotten downright weird, like his love-in with Zohran Mamdani. Um, and if things really go south, what do would-be authoritarians do when things go south? They try and find a nice little war somewhere.
yeah, they get more authoritarian and they find a war somewhere. Well, Venezuela's out there.
Yeah.
Uh, and he is losing. I mean, he lost the Comey case now. I mean, they'll go back on that one, I'm sure. But the statute of limitations, I think, is a problem there. I mean, that whole, I mean, going after the enemies, he's going to do more of that. But I mean, so far he's losing every time he tries to do it. And so, yeah, you're right. I mean, the losses are racking up, but more importantly are the losses I think that are impacting people, healthcare. I mean, some of these things that are just that really, I don't really think a whole lot of Americans got up wondering whether Comey was going to be, the trial was going to go forward or not. I mean, I had opinions, but I don't think they woke up. Everybody's waking up now. I think a lot more people than Washington gets are in real pain out there. And
Mhm.
things like healthcare going up,
Yeah, it's
the
possible that
energy prices.
people are thinking, um, why is he spending so much time and enemy and energy? I should have
Yeah,
said rather than enemy. Why is he spending so much time and energy on his enemies,
right.
rather than thinking about us? And
Well,
that's one of the most basic impulses in politics.
but also he's so aligned now the with you know look what's going on with energy prices are just increasing out of sight because of the energy demands, a lot of it of technology, of AI and other things, or data centers. And he's totally, you know, he's totally linked to that and pushing for it, which is I'm not arguing whether AI should have energy or not. That's not my point. My point is there are a lot of Americans right now are experiencing their energy prices going up and realizing it's a bunch of rich tech billionaires with spending billions of dollars on each other's projects that are causing that. And I don't really see him crossing those folks, Peter Thiel and all of them. And so he's now he's putting the party on that side of things, but not whether there's policies um, to deal with that, like you said, building a new grid, but where he's at and where the American people at as those energy prices go up, that's only going to continue too for the next year. I mean, into the future for sure, but for this year, given where the place economically where many Americans find themselves struggling right now in this economy, I just don't see how anything turns other than he becomes more of a lame turkey
Mhm.
and surrenders stuffing or whatever.
Well, that's the surrender stuffing is if he gives in
Yeah,
to Russia
yeah,
on Ukraine.
yeah,
But um, you know, just in closing,
yeah.
um, I am known for my pessimism about the Democrats' ability to get anything right. And yet, I'm sensing some, shall we call them green shoots. I think that the two moderate governors, um, Mikey Sherrill and Abigail Spanberger, are uh, doing and saying the right things, emphasizing, the tech oligarchs, emphasizing high utility prices,
Yep.
emphasizing healthcare. And but the guy I'm really curious about, I just saw, forgive me for my sins, but I just looked at a New Hampshire 2028 poll that had Gavin Newsom way up there with Pete Buttigieg. Now, Buttigieg is known in New Hampshire
Yeah.
and widely respected, but I think Newsom has done himself some good in the recent months. What do you think of him?
Oh no, look, no doubt that Newsom's done himself a tremendous amount of good, particularly with rank and file Democrats and taking on the fight in California on the redistricting, but also, I mean, really standing up to Trump along the way. I just don't. I mean, but I would caution everybody. First of all, I don't know. Maybe you can remember. I don't remember anybody who was the front runner today. This is not a place you want to be. It's
Right.
not where you want to be right now. And that goes with Mayor Pete too, if he's a co-fund, right? I'm just saying, like, that's not, you just don't want to get there. Every time I've seen that happen, it was, like I think John Glenn in 84 was like, the big, the
Joe
right stuff there.
Lieberman.
Yeah. And it just doesn't, so that doesn't mean now the other side of that, and I've been there because I've been when Howard Dean went to the front, but the problem is you can't, it's not like, oh no, we've got to like shut our momentum down.
Right.
That's not what happens either. So I would just a cautionary note. I think he's done very well, but I think you got to build on what the policies you're going to propose for the future, and get those going. But this is still a wide open race. I mean, I just think it'll be 9, 10 or more candidates, and Gavin is definitely somebody I would keep my eye on. But everybody else who wants to get in should, and we should have a really robust debate, and and actually build a party that can win in 2028. And I think that debate will be well worth having.
Yeah, well, I think that the one thing Democrats have done successfully, for the most part, although this could change at any moment, is that they have successfully hidden a lot of the cultural issues that were hurting them. And Donald Trump has helped them along that way by persecuting Latinos. So, I think that here we are, Thanksgiving 2025, and amazingly, Joe, you and I are seeing that Trump kind of treading water, if not losing ground, and the Democrats gaining ground a
Yeah,
little. Do you
yeah.
agree with
No,
that?
that's true. So there's a lot to be thankful for, folks. Have a great Thanksgiving. You can find me at that Trippy show, the two Joes, obviously another our podcast, and I have Trippy's Take Substack, and also Lincoln Square's Substacks and shows as well. And then there's Joe Klein in his Substack, Sanity Clause at Joseph Klein on Substack. I hope you check it all out, and hope you come back next week. Joe, any last words?
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, all. Take care.
Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.